a lot of people just wanted to forget it. We got lots of mail, you know, why do we need to do this? Isn't this an event best forgotten? We don't need to publicize this. But actually, I think those things get repeated if they don't, if they aren't taken into the open and openly discussed. And now even, like I ride the bus sometimes to my studio and I go right by the monument, and so I listen in on people's conversations, and sometimes it's like, do you know why that memorial's there? Yeah, I do, you know, and then they'll talk about it. It wouldn't have been talked about otherwise. So anyway, we'll go on. I'm going to tell you just now, whoops, what's going on there? You must have left. I did the other one. So I'm going to tell you about why I changed my mind about the bronzes, and these are my models. Eddie was a high school student. Dan was in college already. He's the shorter one. I had them dress up in costumes that we got from the historicals, or from the Playhouse, I guess it was. Sort of, you know, to the best of our ability from looking at historical photos, I got them dressed up a little bit. Here's the last model, Delon. I took hundreds of photos of them, and there's the studio. So I'm starting to lay up the clay. I worked from big drawings. I also worked from every single male person and some female persons that went through my studio. Would you just stand here, hold your hands like this? Just, you know, as long as I could get people to model for me, because it was hard to work in the round. But my initial idea had been to make these flat sculptures. And I wasn't even going to put in a lot of details. But the more I got to thinking about it and talking to people, the more I felt that these had to be very realistic in order to, well, in order to do what they needed to do for the community to feel better. They wanted to put a face and an individuality to these unknown people. And while it took me about 6 months to do the bronzes, and all the while I'm doing this, I was reading the history of lynching at the hands of persons unknown, the biography of Ida B. Wells, the story of the lynchings by Michael Fido. And I, you know, I think, well, how can somebody murder somebody like this? You have to consider them as less than human. So if that's what it takes, we have to be able to reinvest these people with their humanity. So I was really grateful to the models because, in a way, they lent their form to otherwise formless, you know, people. They were the same age, and it was a little bit more involved than I thought, but I don't know, it turned out really well. Some of the process, especially for you art people, I had to have these boards for the guys to be straight up and down. Molly, this is why I always say that you can't work like flat. You have to work up and down because otherwise there's distortion. So I had to build like panels and have them completely perpendicular to the floor. When the clay was done, then I took a crew of about 5 people into my studio, and we put them on top of the table and then covered them with silicone, plaster, and so that I could do the cast, the molds. So here's carving one. And they had to go one by one. So this is the second one. This is probably about 3 months into the project. There's the silicone form, or the plaster form. Here we are brushing silicone, which is just a really nice casting medium, over the clay. That takes about 2 or 3 people to have do. So actually Alice and Ani sent students to me to help me do this, and I even employed one of them to be my assistant for the duration of the casting process. Here, here's the wax coming out of the silicone mold, and I sort of have a little series. There's some of the students in the back. Silicone just peels right off, so it doesn't damage the wax. The wax is painstakingly painted in with the paintbrush. It takes forever. And there it is. And there it is, plus some of Allison Auni's students in the background. And this is in the foundry. This is the wax that I brought. You see it's cut in pieces here. And then we lay it out in the foundry so that they can see it, and they take pictures of it and trace it on a piece of paper so that when they go to weld it back, it's not like in an odd angle or something. Sometimes they have to bend the bronze. Here's another little, here we are casting the first piece, pouring ingots. And that's how it looks when it comes out. The wax has been melted out. There's a form inside there that is a negative inside this ceramic shell. The bronze has been poured in there, and then we take it outside, lay it on the ground, and wait for it to cool off enough to pound it open with a hammer. So there we are breaking open the mold, the first mold, which, if this didn't work out for some reason, I still have my molds. I could have made a new wax. So I had that safety net. It wasn't like, if this didn't work out, oh, I'm done, I can't do another one. There it is. It's not completely sandblasted, but I could see that it was coming out with a lot of the detail. You know, the little scratch marks and stuff like that. I was pretty happy. Here we are doing the patina. And this is probably about 5 months into the work. So winter's gone, spring is here, and this is the first time I got to see them all together. It was such an amazing moment. So it was Matt, the patina guy, and me. We set them up against the garage and saw them standing together. And I just wanted to show you a close-up because bronze is so beautiful when it comes right out after the patina, and even before it's waxed. It's a little wet here, so it looks like it's waxed. But look at the amount of color that's on there. We used probably 2 or 3 different patinas, and then I rubbed off some of it so that the shiny stuff is light highlighted. And it's really hard to maintain bronze. It really should be waxed more than once a year, but that's why they're so dark right now. They're getting oxidized, and they could clean them, but they probably we would probably have to do a re-patina to get them to be exactly like I had planned at the beginning. But that's sort of the bane of an outdoor sculpture. It just, you can start out with it perfect, but it doesn't stay the same way. And sometimes the aging is good, you know. I think the peace sculpture with the hands and the dove, it looks nice now that it's turning a little green because it sort of matches the rock that's next to it. But then sometimes it's hard to see your work change. Okay, that's the bronzes. There was something else I wanted to say.